Lego video got you on what is trending in the US.
ABDUL El-SAYED Shocks AIPAC wins Michigan.
Watch.
Senate primary over Stevens. And the story starts way before Tuesday night. A doctor from Michigan, a public health man, ran the health department in Wayne County. Built a name doing real work on the ground. Back in 2018, he ran for governor. Lost that primary to Whitmer. Learned the lesson, stayed in the fight instead of walking away. Years later, Senator Gary Peters announces he's stepping down. The seat comes open, and Abdul jumps back in, this time for the United States Senate. Now the field gets crowded fast. Haley Stevens, a sitting congresswoman, establishment favorite, endorsed by Governor Whitmer herself late in the race. Mallory McMorrow also running, state senator, sharp voice in the party. But she drops out in July, throws her support behind. Abdul, before the votes are even counted, that endorsement matters. Because this primary turns into a two-man fight for the soul of the Michigan Democratic Party. Here's where the money enters the story. Outside groups pour close to $65 million into this race. Most of it landing on Stevens' side, giving her nearly a 9-to-1 spending advantage over Abdul. One single group tied to pro-Israel interests spends more than $30 million alone. The largest investment any outside group makes in a Democratic primary this whole cycle. Ads flood every screen in Michigan. Mailers stack up in every mailbox. And the argument from the outside money is simple: stop Abdul before he gets to November. But Abdul keeps talking about affordability, keeps talking about healthcare, keeps talking about getting money out of politics. And grassroots volunteers keep making calls, door by door, county by county. Bernie Sanders comes to Detroit. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez comes to Detroit. They stand with Abdul in July. Energize younger voters, energize progressive voters who feel like Washington forgot about them. Election night, Tuesday, August 4th, 2026, polls close and the numbers start rolling in tight. Real tight. Kent County breaks hard for Abdul, 61% to 35. Ingham County breaks hard for Abdul, too, 59 to 36. But Oakland County goes the other way. Stevens up there, 51 to 45. All night long, it's too close to call, too close for any network to make the call. And Michigan goes to sleep not knowing who their nominee is. Then early Wednesday morning, NBC News makes the call. ABDUL El-SAYED wins the Michigan Senate primary. The Associated Press confirms it. Other major networks follow right behind. Unofficial numbers show 48.5% for Abdul, 47.5% for Stevens. One of the closest Senate primaries in Michigan history. And by most accounts, the most expensive Senate primary the country has ever seen. Stevens calls Abdul, concedes the race, puts out a statement congratulating him, says that's why we have primaries. Says she's proud to support him now against the Republican in November. Mallory McMorrow puts out her own statement too, says the party has to come back together, says the real fight starts now. ABDUL El-SAYED Shocks AIPAC wins Michigan Senate primary over Stevens and stands on a stage in Detroit at the Majestic Theater early Wednesday morning to declare victory. He talks about beating the odds, beating the money, beating an outside spending machine that outspent him 9-to-1. And still couldn't beat the will of Michigan voters knocking doors and making calls for months. Now the general election is set. ABDUL El-SAYED faces former Congressman Mike Rogers, who ran unopposed on the Republican side. Michigan is a swing state. Went for Trump back in 2024. And this Senate race in November could decide which party controls the chamber. Analysts already calling it one of the most competitive Senate races anywhere in the country this cycle. ABDUL El-SAYED Shocks AIPAC wins Michigan Senate primary over Stevens, proving a campaign built on small donations and volunteer hours.
state can still stand up against $65 million in outside spending. Whatever comes next in November.
Let's go deeper into what this result actually means, because the numbers only tell half the story. Maya Berry, who runs the Arab American Institute, a group that doesn't even endorse candidates, calls this win a big deal. She says voters looked at the ads, the attack after attack after attack, and they didn't buy it, because none of those ads actually talked about policy. They just went after Abdul personally. That's a telling line, because it says something about what Michigan voters were actually looking for this cycle. They weren't looking for the loudest ad campaign. They were looking for someone talking about their actual lives. And here's a piece of history worth saying out loud. If ABDUL El-Sayed wins in November against Mike Rogers, he becomes the first Muslim senator in United States history. Think about that for a second. A doctor, son of Egyptian immigrants, who once ran a county health department, standing on the floor of the United States Senate as the first person of his faith to ever hold that seat. That's not a small footnote. That's the kind of moment that gets remembered long after this election cycle is over. Even Donald Trump weighed in before the results came in. He told Fox News he actually thought Mike Rogers would do better running against Abdul than against Stevens, calling Abdul the tougher opponent to beat in November. And the National Republican Senatorial Committee put out a digital ad of their own, one that leaned into Abdul's progressive record and his endorsement from Bernie Sanders. A move a lot of political observers read as an attempt to help Abdul win the primary, because Republicans thought he'd be an easier general election matchup. Whether that strategy backfires or pays off, nobody knows yet. That's a November question. Governor Whitmer, who backed Stevens late in the race, didn't disappear after the loss. She put out her own statement congratulating Abdul, pushing hard for the party to unify, saying Michigan needs to win this Senate seat because Senator Alyssa Slotkin deserves a partner like Abdul standing next to her in Washington. That's Whitmer, a major statewide figure, publicly getting behind a guy who just beat her own pick. That tells you how seriously Michigan Democrats are already treating November. Meanwhile, in Detroit, at the Majestic Theater, when Abdul finally took the stage early Wednesday morning after that overnight nail-biter, he didn't talk about the primary being over. He talked about unity. He talked about Michiganders needing an economy that works for them. Guaranteed health care, affordable housing, clean air and water. Those were the same lines he used back when he first announced this campaign. And now he's carrying them straight into a general election that could decide control of the entire United States Senate. So here's where things stand. Michigan just delivered the closest, most expensive Democratic Senate primary the state has ever seen. A campaign that leaned on small donors and volunteer-owned banks outlasted a 9-to-1 spending disadvantage. ABDUL El-SAYED Shocks AIPAC wins Michigan Senate primary over Stevens, and now turns immediately toward a November matchup against Mike Rogers in a state that swung red just 2 years ago. Every major outlet, from the Associated Press to NBC to CNN, is already calling this one of the most competitive Senate races anywhere in the entire country. Michigan made its choice in August. Now the whole country watches what happens in November.